Hi, everyone. My name is City, and I am the Healthy Relationships Coordinator for WISE. And this is our 7-day Healthy Relationship and Sexual Violence Prevention Program for our girls program. And we are on our workshop 6. And this workshop topic for today is centered around sexual violence and abuser tactics. And our 3 objectives for today is to understand the root of why and how people sexually assault or hurt others through power and control. We want to distinguish what sexual violence is defined as between the terms sexual assault and sexual abuse. And we also want to educate participants that anyone can be abused or assaulted. And again, these are just the values that we will always stand by for these workshops. And it is just really good for us as a facilitator to always reinforce these values as we continue on with our workshops. And so for the icebreaker for today, we're just going to have participants talk about their day, give them 30 seconds to talk about anything that's been on their mind, what they've been doing. If you have a big group, you can break them out into 3 people to a group and have them do that with each other. If you have a smaller group, you can just stay together and each person can do 30 seconds of talking about their day. And again, another meditation, always have to start with a meditation, 2 to 3 minute meditation on your stop, breathe, and think app, or something on YouTube that is helpful, or something that is a quick, short, nice and sweet meditation on YouTube will work just as good. And again, just a warning slide to let the participants know that this content may be triggering. So just to take care of themselves and to always feel free to message you, the facilitator, or reach out to you privately if anything comes up for them. And so this is a video that will be shown in the beginning, and it's just a really awesome overview of all the topics that was discussed in the previous workshop, just to kind of bring them back to what we already discussed and what we will be discussing moving on forward.
Hey guys. As peer counselors, we want to bring information about sexual abuse out in the open. But sometimes the hardest part of dealing with abuse is understanding what's even happening.
Sexual abuse is when someone touches the private parts of your body. You know, the parts of the body underneath the bathing suit. Or abuse is when the person has you touch his or her private parts, or shows you pictures of naked people.
Many times, touches that are uncomfortable start as touches that are too friendly or part of a game. While these touches might make you feel uncomfortable, you're not sure if the touch is sexual abuse. Even if these touches make you feel uncomfortable or nervous, you might not really understand that something is wrong.
By the time you realize that the touching is sexual abuse, you don't know how to make it stop.
Even if you didn't say no when the touching started, you can say no now. Sexual abuse hurts because it violates your right to control your body.
Abusers can be someone you trust. Maybe it's someone who gives you lessons or teaches you how to play sports, or even a relative. Because you know the person well and they can tell you what to do, it's even harder to say no if they do something that makes you feel uncomfortable.
We have a letter from Quinn, who wrote about a situation with an older person that had been a friend. The person touched Quinn inappropriately, saying it was just a game. It was very confusing for Quinn because the older person had been nice before and gave Quinn special gifts and video games. The person did this to make Quinn feel okay about what was really going on and to make sure Quinn didn't tell anybody about the abuse.
When the abuse has gone on for a while, it's easy to think that it's your fault for not stopping it sooner, or for going along with it. The most important thing to remember is that abuse is never your fault.
If you think you've been abused or there's someone in your life who makes you uncomfortable, you need to tell a trusted adult. Talking about it can be scary, but it's the first step to making it stop.
All right. And so we just have a few questions after the some follow-up questions for the video. And so we want to have some questions regarding Quinn's story. Quinn, who was one of the characters in there in the video. And so we asked the participants, even though Quinn didn't say no in the beginning, can she say no afterwards? Second question is, why was it hard or confusing for Quinn to understand that she was being sexually abused? Who could be an abuser? Does it make it right and okay that the abuser bought her games after? What should Quinn do if she wants this to stop? So these 5 questions, you can have the students break out if there is enough students to do breakouts or smaller groups, and then you can come back together to share some insights, or you can just talk through these questions with them as a big group if there's a smaller one. And I think that these questions are pretty straightforward. It just kind of gives the participants a reflection, or just kind of helps them think about it just a little bit more, that, you know, it is okay to say no, that this kind of behavior is not right and it is not okay. So just some questions for them to think about afterwards. And then going on to the next slide, we want to talk about sexual violence. And so sexual violence is defined as it referring to sexual activity when consent is not obtained or not really given, meaning that the person did not verbally or actively said yes to any kind of activity that that happened. And sexual violence, we want to distinguish that sexual violence, the term sexual violence is an umbrella term. So under sexual violence, sexual assault, sexual abuse happens, and other activities such as referred to the PowerPoint. It includes attempts to obtain a sexual act, which is prostitution, sexual harassment, coercion as sexual reproductive coercion, like how we talked about in the other previous workshop, trafficking for sexual exploitation or sex trafficking, and female genital mutilation. And so all of these things have, they're really big terms, and so we just have to do our best to explain it to the students if they're unsure of how what it means, or what exactly is sexual exploitation or sex trafficking or female genital mutilation. But we want to let the participants know that all of these are under the umbrella of sexual violence, that sexual assault is sexual violence, but sexual violence doesn't necessarily mean it's sexual assault all the time. It could be all these different acts that has been talked about in this slide. And why do people hurt others? And we're talking about emotionally, physically, verbally, and sexually. We can ask the students or participants here too on why they feel people hurt others, and they can give their own input. And then you can go ahead and talk about why people hurt others. It's about wanting power and control. It's especially because they feel insecure or they're unhealthy, and they need to feel more powerful than someone, because maybe in their life, in their past, they may have felt very powerless, and they're seeking to want more power, and they feel some type of way when they know that they have power over someone. And even if they're insecure, even if something bad happened to them in the past, it does not give them the right to hurt anyone, though. It does not give anyone the right to hurt anyone, no matter what the circumstances are. And statistics here is that 8 out of 10 rapes are committed by someone known to the victim. Because usually when we think about rape or sexual assault, we think about a creepy person in the bushes jumping out to assault someone. But in truth, it is always most likely someone that the survivor knows. And so it breaks down here in the statistics that 19% is committed by a stranger, but 39% is by an acquaintance, 33% is by a former spouse, a boyfriend or girlfriend, 6% is by more than one person that the victim can't remember, or 2% by a non-spouse relative. But we also want to take note that there are so much, the statistics are not to the truest extent, because we are aware that there is a lot of survivors out there that have not come out with their stories, and that will never come out with their stories. So we will never have a true statistic, that it could be way higher than these statistics that we have shown. And so now let's define what sexual abuse is. And usually when we talk about sexual abuse, it usually refers to a child being abused. And so, for example, or to define what sexual abuse is when sexual violence involves a victim less than 18 years old. So it is child sexual abuse. And it refers to the involvement of a child in a sexual activity that he or she does not fully comprehend, or they don't understand what's going on because they're not fully mature yet to understand exactly what the situation is. Does not consent to, or is unable to give informed consent. Meaning that they don't have the verbiage or the language to even say yes, or understand what yes is, or understand that what's happening to them, and unable to give informed consent, meaning they can say yes, or they can verbally and actively say that they don't want to partake in this, because there is always that power imbalance when a child is abused or assaulted, that they feel like they have to listen to the person because most likely this person is older than them. And so they don't really have a say, and they don't really feel like they can say no to this person, or is not developmentally prepared for and cannot give consent to what is happening to them, which I've stated in the previous statements, that when you're young, you don't really have the mental understanding of what's going on, because you're still growing up, you haven't experienced many things, and so you really don't have an understanding to say yes to certain things, these kinds of things. And so let's watch a video. It's called Rape is Rape, Sex Without Consent is Rape. And this video is a really good video to talk about the different statistics, and to really show that really anyone can get assaulted or abused. And we have to be mindful and aware and be compassionate to anyone and everyone who may have gone through these experiences.
There's an issue which we need to tackle.
No matter how old you are,
or how young you were when it started,
I waited until I was 18 to tell my story.
Some things are just not that easy to wash out.
or that easy to fix.
And just because I like to go out,
Would prefer to stay in.
I still have a story to tell.
Together, we can educate, speak up.
And know that someone's listening. Hello?
All right. And so after this video, it's really nice for us as the facilitators to also just ask the participants if they had any comments about the video, or if they have felt like something was shocking about the video, and just allow them to give them a space to voice out any of their opinions or their thoughts or insights that they might have about the video. And going into the next slide, we're just going to highlight some important statistics here that nearly half of bisexual women who are rape survivors experience their first rape between ages 11 and 17. About 1 in 4 males experience it between 11 and 17, which is 25%. And then 1 in 3 is 33%. Female rape victims experience it when they're 11 to 17 years old. And nearly 1 in 5 women experienced a completed or attempted rape during her lifetime. And then 64% of transgender people have experienced sexual assault in their lifetime. And 1 in 8 female rape victims reported that it occurred before age 10. And 1 in 38 men have experienced completed or attempted rape during his lifetime. And about 1 in 4 male rape victims reported that it occurred before age 10. So 25% there too as well. And, you know, some things to note that it is very heartbreaking to hear that these things happen to our children before the age 10. And so it is very important for us to continue to educate our children, students and participants, even at a younger age, to help them have the knowledge and information of things that could happen, and so, or they may encounter in their lifetime. And so they can have the best of their knowledge to understand and how to, in their best of abilities, because they're so young, to approach that situation in a better way, where they can protect themselves a little bit more because of the knowledge that they have. And so just some tactics that the abusers use. These are just some very general ones, and we're going to go into more detailed ones after this. But, you know, tactics that abusers use are threats, harming someone you love or your pet. If you are an undocumented person, they may threaten to call immigration on you or your family. They may keep important identification away from you, so you cannot find work, you cannot access things that you need with the identification that you need. And showing videotapes of the abuse on the internet, spreading rumors at school or in the community about the survivor, about maybe just spreading some really awful lies about them to make them sound crazy to other people. So yes, stop there. And then going to the next one, this is the power and control wheel, and these are the tactics that abusers use to keep a person under their control. And so the first one that we will be talking about is using anger or emotional abuse, is really putting a person down, making them feel bad about themselves, calling them horrible names, and making them feel like they're crazy. Just playing a lot of mind games with them and really just breaking down this person's confidence, this person's self esteem, because that's how they will stay under control, because they feel like they don't even deserve to have anyone else, and that the abuser is the only person that will love them and that will even take them, because they are not even as worth anything else than that. And so that is one tactic. Another tactic is, again, using threats, making and carrying out threats to hurt something, to do something to hurt another person. They may threaten to commit suicide because the survivor wants to leave, or to report that person to the police. They may threaten to hurt the other person, or hurt themselves if the person, or if the survivor wants to put charges on this person. They even may threaten that person to do illegal things for them, and may threaten to hurt them if they don't do so. Using their social status, whether they are a big person in the community, or a valued person in the community, or high ranking, or even is a man, and having that power and that status, and that just that using that presence, and really using that to treat this person, the survivor, as a servant. They are the ones to make all the decisions. They are the master. They are the ones to define what the roles are in the household, and really not giving the survivor any say in anything. Sexual coercion is another tactic, which we talked about in our previous workshop, is really to manipulate and make threats to get sex, getting the person pregnant, threatening to take the children away, or getting the person drunk or drugged to get sex, and really just pressuring this person, and pushing this person to really just have sex with them, and really to control them. Peer pressure. So this one is really talking about spreading rumors within the friend group or the peer group, and really making this person seem like they are the survivor, so the abuser will be spreading all of these lies about the survivor to make the survivor seem like they're crazy, or they are not right in the head, and it would make the peers and friends and family see the survivor in a certain light. And so that's what they want to happen, in order to keep this person under control, and to really make them feel helpless, that no one will really help them, because they might seem crazy to everyone, and they might not be telling the truth. Next one is minimizing, denying, and blaming. So really just making light of the abuse, not taking the concern seriously, denying that anything has even happened, and even blaming the survivor that this is their fault, that they caused it because of their actions, and they deserved what happened to them. They deserve to have been beaten. They deserve to have been assaulted. They deserved everything that has happened to them, and they asked for it. So just all those kinds of things, and just really making that person feel like it is their fault for getting hurt. It is their fault for everything that has happened to them, and that really breaks down their self-esteem and self-confidence, and which again just gives the abuser a larger control over them. The next one is isolation and exclusion, and really just taking the person or the survivor and bringing them to another area. So making an excuse that, oh, I want to spend more time with you. I want us to focus on each other. I want us to try to do different things aside from the people around us, and really move this person away from everyone, and making the abuser the only person that they can depend on financially, socially, with all their different needs, right? And again, just controlling what they're doing, controlling what the survivor can see, who they can talk to, what they read, where they go, and just really limiting and controlling every aspect of this person, to isolate them, to make the abuser the only person that is important in their life. Intimidation is a way to make someone afraid just by using some sort of look or an action or a gesture. So they can be smashing things and abusing the pet. So not directly hurting the survivor, but showing that this is my fury, this is my power. And if you step out of line, this could happen to you. Or they can be displaying any sort of weapons where they can be cleaning their weapons and making comments as, oh, I hope I don't have to use this on anyone, just saying those kinds of really manipulating and malicious things to make the person feel fearful for their life. And so after explaining this whole power and control wheel to the participants, you as a facilitator, please ask if they have any questions, if they have anything that they're confused about or any clarification, or if they want to comment on any one of these. Feel free to give them that space as well afterwards as you finish explaining all of these for them. And so again, it was a really heavy workshop of explaining so many different heavy topics. So just taking a breath together and just letting out all of the bad away and taking in all of the knowledge that everyone has learned today in order to just be more prepared for what is to come ahead, and to be aware of anything that may be alarming from everything that you've learned. And so the next thing is really to remind the participants that to look for 5 photos of themselves, because we will be doing this activity for our last workshop. And that is really the end of the workshop 6, and then I will see you again for the 7th workshop.